That service, the type of stewardship, that service is either by calling, which means you are born within, group that have the gene for providing service. That's why you see some people, they are working for the voluntary agencies and so on. That's also stewardship, also even within the family, not to talk about church. So it's just giving service for the benefit of mankind.
All right, Ken, you have something to add to that?
Okay,
now what are the qualities? What are the qualities when you say that this person is a steward? What do we look out for in that person to know that this person is truly a steward? Ken?
It depends on, like you said, service primarily. Then depending on the framework of engagement that the person finds himself in rendering that service. For if, like you said, in church, it's voluntary, where you see people doing ushering work, doing belonging to choir, belonging to other departments in the church. Voluntarily, they are not being paid. Okay. But they form part of the integral set of the church. Then also in Rotary, people who are there, they are doing humanitarian service and they are doing it voluntarily. But I think the point here is the one that we are concerned, that has so much effect on our lives.
Yes, that's what I want to. I want us to bring out what you see in a person, and you know that this person is a steward.
Okay.
And that has to do with the one that is public service. Public service. That's I want to narrow it now.
We will get to that. But let's bring out what actually those things you will see in a person, and you know that this person is a steward.
Well, first and foremost, one of the biggest attributes, character attributes of a steward, that the person must be somebody that is selfless. Selflessness. Again, the person who is a good steward must be somebody that has fear of God in him, and certainly must be a compassionate person. If you don't have these three attributes, you can be a good steward. Because if you are not selfless, it means that you are there pretending to be a steward, but you are there for your selfish purposes. Because selflessness means you are equitable in the things you do, extremely rational in trying to dispense those things that God has given, you, which you can't control. But if you are selfish, you do it with some abbreviation. So selflessness, compassion.
All right. Yes. Now, we are all Nigerians. We live in Nigeria, and we've seen leaders come and go in our system, not just in the national, but the state, the local government. How would you describe the leadership in our country, Nigeria? Do we, in relation with the stewardship we are talking about, do we really have stewards in positions of authority in our nation, Nigeria?
What he said, he mentioned three key values that you see that describe someone who is a good leader.
A good steward.
Yeah. That is the perspective, his perspective on it. Okay. Someone else can also say humility is part of the attributes of a steward, a good steward. Because the position you are occupying to render that service, or that service you are rendering that makes you to be accorded that position, you should know first and foremost that, yes, you are not indispensable. You should be humble in rendering that service. Then the problem we have as relates to the country is that we have a problem of articulating a set of values that will define a good steward that we can begin to propagate and also watch people exhibit such character that we can now say, if this A is not doing this, no matter where the person is from, we'll say, no, this is wrong. If Mr. B is not doing A, B, C, D, we all will have a consensus that despite the background, be it ethnic or religion, this is wrong. So you see us having a problem of not having a consensus on articulated set of values that define a good steward. Because of that, we have distorted system.
Okay, we have distorted system. I think in all levels of leadership in the nation. Now, Chike, do you really see, okay, or what's your assessment? How would you assess the leadership in our nation from all the sectors, from local government, the grassroots, to the state, to the national level? Do you see us over the years, over time, have we had stewards as leaders?
I'm beginning to appreciate why you started us from the position of stewardship up to this thing. And every parameter that has been used to define a steward, a good steward, in fact, applies to becoming a good leader, even the more. So wherever those attributes are missing, what you get is disorder and disarray. And that's the outcome. And that is what we have in this country. That is why it has become a problem. So disorder and what? Disarray. So which means that we have an intrinsic, endemic, in fact, I should call it pandemic issue of poor leadership.
Yeah.
And what is leadership in the first instance? Is the capacity and ability to influence people for positive action.
Yeah.
Ability and capacity to influence. So there are people, good leaders are people that influence positive action. And this positive action has a lot of outcomes. If it's in a corporate organization, if you have a good leader at the top, he will be able to know how to have managed people to, the outcome will be what? Profit and what? Growth. If you have it in this ABS, everybody will be what? Very productive. And you have very positive outcomes by the quality of your content products. In the church, you see the church what? Grow. Spiritually, not materially. So, if you do you want me to qualify leadership?
Yes,
And
yes.
The leadership in Nigeria has given us a virus that some of us have now named acquired disorder and disarray syndrome.
Okay, and that's exactly what Nigerians have seen over the years and decided to see if they could, in the past election, to correct some of those things by saying that this is who we want, let's try these people and see what comes out of it. And my question now is, do we have the possibility of having good stewards in positions of authority in Nigeria focus on the just concluded election, on the nature of how we elect leaders in our country? Do we have the possibility, when we have failed to, to make it happen the last time, do we still have hope of getting to a point where we say we have good stewards in positions of authority in this nation?
Yeah, you want Ken? I think.
I don't know. Okay, Ken, go ahead.
In every society, there are key institutions that influence the society.
Okay.
Number one, you look at government institution. Two, you look at community institution. Three, you look at the business institution. Four, educational institution. Five, the religious institution. Six, the family institution. Now, then the seventh one, which is citizenship institution. Now, when you talk about the influence in family, let me use the family as an example. What examples do parents lay for their children? It's very important. That's the orientation children will grow up with. A child is born in a family, and the child is growing up in the family, learning from the parents, being sent to school to also learn in the school. What is the child learning in the school? For example, look at the case of Mmesoma. Because, like you said, it has different cadre. And you mentioned asking questions of in the society. But let us break them. I've broken down this society now into categories I've just listed. Look at the school. The case of Mmesoma. A brilliant child whose record showed that she was doing well. Had even taken GEM twice and even scored made good score. Now this time around, she decided to influence her result fraudulently. That act speaks volume about her family. It speaks volume about the friends she has around her, within that community. She wouldn't have done that single-handedly. Certain persons must have discussed that with her also, for her to get the support, encouragement to do that. Even when she made a video still lying about the result, certain persons might have also encouraged her to keep on doing it until the state government set up a panel to investigate what actually happened before we now got the report of the panel that she confessed that she lied, forged the result. It shows us that even in schools, the right values we are supposed to inculcate in the children, we are not doing enough. Because they are the leaders of tomorrow. In the school, come to talk about business. You see companies sponsoring agents to go and destroy advert placement of other competitive companies just because they want to be only the marketing visible product in the market. Hiring thugs, knowing fully well that even when they pay these thugs, next time the thugs will look for what else to do to others in order to sustain themselves when that one is not coming anymore. And you see where they feel that it's a marketing strategy, but committing crime in the process just to be only visible products in the market. That's the business for you. So now you talk about government. You see someone who will rig himself into power, neglecting the process that will validate the legitimacy of anybody who emerges as the leader. Yet someone will boycott that process just because he wants to get that position. It tells me that person is a leader. It's a question. Now, you come into the church, you see where people, the leaders of the religious institution, will be telling members lies just because they have the gift of oratory. They can speak well, they can talk well to their members, and the members will believe in them, and they will see them to be so. You sow seed here, sow seed here, sow seed. You sow seed 10 times, 100 times. You have problem, you say sow seed. Have problem, you sow seed. They will be. You see a church leader, a religious leader, making money at the expense of the ignorance of the members of the church. And why the members die in abject poverty, why they enrich themselves. That is also another issue. So you find out that in a community, you see, like the report that came up something like that the vigilante of a community killed one boy. Killed one boy, took his keke and sold it. Now, who asked that? Someone who is entrusted with the lives of the people. Now, turn to an agent of the devil by killing his subject, taking his possession, his assets. How much? Keke. Now, who asked him to do that? Now, you find that after I have taken you around to see that the society, when you say society, it becomes as if it's too big. I broke it down into this segment. You will see we are in each of these institutions, things that people are doing that are not proper, that ordinarily such institutions should be used to influence people so that they can live the right life, that everybody will be part of it, because leadership is not by occupying position of authority.
So the future looks so very bleak if nothing is done about it. And
of course not. If nothing is done, we are like you use the word, endemic system.
Okay, Chike wants to say something.
No, yes, I think he has done much of the analysis, but we want to look at it. We want to put it in a context that will also help us understand this analysis.
All right.
You asked about election.
The possibility. Going by
election is but one part of the processes. Look, for any organization, society, or country that is doing well, you will see that 3 major factors are responsible. And these factors are values of the people, the processes that do what? Put life and spirit into all the activities in that society. And then the other one are resources. Resources in this case is not material resources mostly, but the human what?
Capital.
The human capital. So wherever there is a gap in any of these triangular factors, there will always be issues. So leadership is about influencing, remember what I said? Bringing proper influence on the followership so that positive outcomes can what? Be achieved. So wherever you don't see positive things happening, like in Nigeria where corruption is the government, while the not so corrupt are in very serious minority, you can see that nothing does what? Works. So it trickles down to the family. So for you to become successful, you must be what? Corrupt. That is the dilemma.
All right, I think that's the reason we are here this morning, to see if there should be re-institutionalizing of stewardship and, and all
good
for
leadership.
Yes, and good leadership.
Yes.
Now we take a short break here on Good Morning Anambra show. Let's bring you, take a short break. The program will return. When we come back, we look at the possibility of re-institutionalizing stewardship for national development in our nation, Nigeria. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back shortly.
Anambra Broadcasting Service, ABS. With delight, we bring you the light that we bear through our illustrious leaders. Our icons. Our industrious people. Our rich culture. Our places of pride. And our mouth-watering cuisine. With unbridled professionalism and renewed tenacity, we serve you real-time news, information, entertainment of varied genres with unfettered reach of your clients and customers. AB. Great news for Anambra Broadcasting Service ABS audience. You can now watch ABS television through any of these ways.
Buy a terrestrial antenna and connect to your television. Search ABS Channel 24 Oka or ABS Channel 27 Onitsha. Install StarTimes cable decoder and search ABS Channel 113. Install Metro Digital cable decoder and search ABS Channel 29.
Watch ABS TV on your smart TV or smartphone by downloading Anambra Broadcasting Service app on Google Play Store. Also watch via ABS Facebook page at ABS Radio Television and ABS YouTube page at ABS Television Oka.
ABS TV is now also on satellite. You can watch us from anywhere in Nigeria and other African countries. Simply install ViewSat TV decoder or any other free-to-air decoder and tune into channel 0031.
Whichever option you choose, stay abreast of breaking news, documentaries, children's shows, talk shows, comedy, sports, movies, and lots more on your darling TV station.
For adverts and program sponsorship, contact 0803 388 8526 or 0806 883 9902. ABS, Heartbeat of the East.
You're welcome back to the studio where we are talking about leadership in Nigeria, reinstitutionalizing stewardship for national development. I have Chike Mwebe in the studio and comrade Ken Okoli. And we've really talked a lot about qualities of a good steward, what actually stewardship means, and the possibility of having good stewards in positions of authority in our nation, Nigeria. Now, I don't know. Can we see reinstitutionalization of stewardship for national development in this country? Is there any possibility of reinstitutionalizing stewardship in Nigeria?
Yeah.
Chike, you start before Ken comes in.
Yes, just before we went on break, I was talking about the factors that make for very strong and resilient and, growth-oriented society. Values, processes, and this. And
resources.
Yes, and resources. It's very easy, but for Nigeria, the way we are now, it will take a little seismic action for us to be able to get
it
right. And we can start getting it right. When I talk about processes, you see, that is in that area of the country governance, they belong to the processes.
Okay.
That is, we have the legislature, the judiciary, and the what? Executive. You find out that at the apex of this triangular decision is the executive.
Yeah.
Once we can get the executive right, I think it will start the process of reinventing a new nation. But because it's a social issue, because anything that concerns man is social, there's a lot of emotional.
Excuse me.
There's a lot, it takes time. And that's why in this last election, you saw what has happened. Since the thing is in the court, we'll just abbreviate it at that. But you should know that just because something happened in the process of selection, see where we are. So once we get the structures that permit the articulation of these factors, values, and this thing, and their institutionalization in our body politics, right? That is allowing the election to go the way it should go.
It should go.
Allowing judiciary to be independent and take their own independent decisions as a check on abuse of power by executive. And then getting the masses, that's those of us, to make sure we comply with the rules and regulations that guide our everyday life as members of this nation. Citizens. Because that is, so if the man at the top is not lawless, is not morally bankrupt, meaning that he's a righteous person, that righteousness will do what?
Trickle down.
Trickle down. So it's up to us to say we want to do what? Recapture this our country from those that have held us hostage. If you go to some places, they call it politics and democracy has given rise to what they call state capture.
You know, what is it called? Our brother, the former, in the just election, concluded election.
You mean P2B? Yes.
You know, even before the election, in fact, since he left office as the governor of Anambra State, he's been going on seminars. I've watched him speak to young ones.
Yes.
Before even the other election, he was vice presidential candidate. He has always said, take back your country. He's always been, you know, advocating for people to rise to the challenge, you know. That means it's not just him. Other people are equally hungry for Nigeria to be better and strong again. Now, what are the processes or the steps that should be taken to reinstitutionalizing stewardship in the nation?
Okay, let's...
Ken, come in.
Nigeria is a complex country, and composition of 36 states and FCT, very massive. I can remember you talked about, you asked how do we institutionalize?
Yeah, the steps to take.
This stewardship. And I agree with my senior brother that leadership is the factors, these three factors he listed that should be identified. He mentioned values, talked about resources, then human capital.
And then processes.
The processes.
Processes. Then the first one is the key. Values, which if we articulate, it will form our value system. It will form our value system in the sense that it will guide us on what we believe in and what we do not believe in as a people. America has it. 1776, 4th of July, they used it to declare their independence on that day, 4th of July. UK, they have it. 1707, King of England had a treaty with King of Scotland. They have 10. America they have 10. Now, which one do you have? In 1990, making reference to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, 1999 Constitution as amended in Section 22 has what we call ethics, national ethics. There are about 7. Can you mention 2? And I bet you if you call any of our leaders today to mention even 3, they will not. You know why? Because we're just a paper thing. Now, I remember that in 2011, I taught a book titled, I Believe in Nigeria. That book was an outcome of a research work I started in 2006, completed in 2011. Although that book, it had identified set of values, 12 in number. Then we try as much as possible to see how we could push. We found that an average citizen of this country has no feeling about the nation called Nigeria. An average person does not believe in the country.
And no wonder that syndrome is very high.
Sees Nigeria as an entity where, like, it looks like a jungle. In that jungle, whatever you take is yours. Whatever you can grab is yours. What if you use power to grab it is yours. If you don't use power, if you use connection to grab it is yours. That's what Nigeria is seeing. I'm telling you. Those who occupy position of authority in this country occupy it to acquire resources of the country. But then, at the state level, every citizen has a sense of belonging from his community. That is his root or her root. The person does not deny that. Then the state provides the platform for the community to be developed. That's why you see states, in their governance approach, they try as much as possible through the local government and the intervention of the state, they look at developing communities. For that reason, people who live within the community have this sense of belonging. You ask them, where are you from? He will tell you where he's from. Because of that, Ona said, okay, no need to start talking about I believe in Nigeria, I believe in Nigeria. Let's scale down this thing to state level. And we came down to the level of the state and said, okay, I believe in Anambra. We wrote another book. Not even big. And I authored the book, I Believe in Anambra. Now, with the same set of values, you know, Anambra has a leadership role to play in this country. You know why? Look at the slogan of that 6 states and FCT. It's only Anambra that has the slogan, which is the light of the nation. So anything that will make this country work for common good must, mark this word, must come from Anambra. That bleakness, that thing, this nation will see like something that is not going to work. It will come from Anambra to make it work.
Look at, in this nation, Nigeria, over the years, we've seen that a lot of leaders will lead, and things will get worse, and they will come down after their tenure, only to come back and start preaching for the right thing to be done. And you begin to ask yourselves, when they were there, what happened? They have all it takes to change the narrative, but it seems they couldn't do it. So I don't know, what actually are we missing in the whole thing? Chike?
What we are missing is that Nigeria has not had the opportunity of allowing its citizens to put the right person at the position of leadership of the country, which is different from what is happening in Anambra State.
Yeah.
Where in Anambra State, the people have decided to, that is, get the power back to themselves and be able to put whoever they want at position of leadership. And you can see you can see the leadership outcomes.
It's accountable to the people.
They're accountable, and they in the last, since after the first, what republic was that when who was the president? No, Obasanjo.
Okay,
yes,
1999.
Yes, 1999.
Yeah.
Since after that regime, you can see that successive governance of Anambra has incrementally been building on what has happened.
Yeah. What has been existing?
What has been what has been existing. Okay. In fact, I'm just coming from the village. I've been around for about how many days now? Okay. And I was very surprised, where something like some of us are dreaming. Because what in Anambra now, we are facing ecological challenges. And then the lack of knowledge is even making us to exacerbate matters, because we cut down our trees, not knowing that as we are cutting trees and building houses, you are exposing our very fragile ecology more to the vagaries of yes. But I'm happy to say that this tree replanting is like a reinvention of Anambra State. And since it's a deliberate program, you see where it will go. I've also moved around to also see that where the previous governments did not do something, this present government is opening up areas you never imagined that will ever see the light of the day. Yes. So for me, when I'm talking about leadership, I'm more concerned not about my state anymore, but I'm concerned about the nation as a general. Anambra is only just a part. If only a few parts are doing well and the majority of the parts are not doing well, the weight of the ones that are not doing well will always overwhelm the ones that are doing well. So, to answer your question, I think that evil has expiry date. Excuse me,
Sorry.
sir. Wow, what is going on? So I think we are getting to the end point of the evil era in Nigeria, where nepotism, corruption, and just name them. Sorry. Are just the order. They will soon come to an end.
All right, now that I believe that so many people are ready and hungry for a change in the leadership of the nation.
Leadership quality.
Yes, leadership quality of the nation and for a better nation. You know, what do you think are the challenges that we can face and possible ways of overcoming such challenges to get to where we plan or we dream to get to in the nearest future?
You want?
I don't know. Okay.
Let's look at, before we talk about the challenge, the process we have to undergo to institutionalize this first, before we now look at the challenge we're going to have, is that young people who say politics is a dirty game should stop that. Who have that notion that politics is a dirty game.
That's changing the narrative.
They should change that.
Okay, it falls to what I asked earlier. That's what are the steps you can take.
Yes, they should stop that. I joined political party this year.
Okay.
Refusing to join for a long time. But I joined because I have to be. And people should be. Now, legislation, we need to see that the values that will guide us, we'll have to legislate the values through the State House of Assembly. Now, for the nation, we move for it. Legislation of our value system in our document called Constitution. Now, when we do that, then we look at our educational institution. It's very key. What is the policy that guides the curriculum? What are those things that are being taught our children in school? That when a child comes back home, even when the father or a mother does something wrong, the child will tell you that this is wrong. I was taught in school that this is wrong. For example, very simple example, lies, telling lies. Where a father will tell a lie to someone else. The child says, Daddy, stop. They told us not to tell lie in school. You see that? It may look nothing. It may look as if it's nothing, but it's something. Value. Like I said, value system. If we get our value system right, a young man can correct another person. Another person can also correct the young person. Because of what? The value is the value. It does not matter whether you are old or small. Everybody will keep to it. But if you do it, and even a follower may correct the leader when he fails to uphold that value, because it's already known. And shared value. Everybody should know these values. Let me tell you, if we get our value system right in this country, we have solved 50% of our problem. If we have a consensus in this country that A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H form part of our form our core value system in this country, we have solved 50% of our problem. Because you now ask yourself, this mad rush to vie for position of authority, you ask yourself, what are you going to use that power for? Is it actually the main thing you want in life? Because how do you see it? what is the essence of this life? Is to be happy, living here, manifesting God, while other people will live their life. You see, we have some people who do all manner of things just to acquire position of authority. Why they do that is a simple thing. Who occupies position of authority determines how the resources will be shared. And funny enough, we also place all manner of value on those people who occupy position of authority. And that is why it encourages them to go for that power.
Again and again.
We are back to the same tyranny. Tyrannical cycle.
All right, in the course of doing this, let's look at the challenges.
The challenges will be, if we are focused, like you said, we have started getting it right from the time of Ngige till date. From the time of Ngige till date, we've started getting it right.
In the state.
We've started getting it right. Now, improvement upon improvement. The government of the state under Chukwuma Soludo is improving on the system. What we need to do is to encourage him to do better and participate also in doing it, because he cannot do it alone. Now, for us who are younger persons, we have contacts in other states, because we have a leadership role to play in this country. Anambra. We have leadership role to play in this country. So it's not about Anambra alone. Anambra is like a place where we are to demonstrate that leadership. Now take it to other states. Influence people of other states. This is how we made Anambra better. Okay, you mentioned P2B last time. P2B was saying, what was P2B using in his message? When he said go and verify, what was he referring to? It's not Anambra. Was using another state to verify it. And if P2B did not become an Anambra governor, we wouldn't have come to that level to say, go and verify. It's a simple thing. Let us make it work here in Anambra. If it starts working in Anambra, we can use it as a template and go to other states and tell them we can do it here. Then give us this country, we will govern it better.
All right, the way forward, before we go, that's the way to overcome the challenges.
The way to overcome the challenge is by very strong advocacy.
Okay.
And then again, looking again at the foundation of our syllabus in schools, to domesticate them in such a way that these issues of values that make for righteous, progressive, and prosperous nations are front-loaded into the syllabus as a major subject of thought, like he said. In fact, I'm so happy to have a young man like this around me saying the things that some of us have been advocating since.
Thank you.
If we, Nigerians, let me not just say Anambra, we are so religious, but
when it comes to acting,
practice, we have all these scriptural values we read as catechism.
Yeah.
and recite it.
But when it comes to those, but when we take it to the school where you have this crutch and all this, and begin to tell them. He tell them what telling lies and this is, and say when they go, let them remind their brothers. It will start from their brothers to their district. So that's why I say it is strong advocacy. If we start it from using government machinery to begin to preach the values that make nations to thrive in harmony, and then use education from the cradle to preach these values, I'm sure in less than 5 to 10 years we will have reached a congruency where more than 80% of the demographic should have been singing the swan song of values, values. So that will help us to sterilize the quality of people that will be coming to take positions of what?
Authority.
Governance.
All right, we can go on, but just this is the much time could allow us take on the program. And I hope you've learned one or two things, just like I'm learning on this platform. Leadership in Nigeria Re-Institutionalizing Stewardship for National Development. We'd like to thank you so much, Chike Mwebe, for being here this morning. Thank you so much, sir.
Madam, thank you very much.
All right, we also appreciate you. Comrade Ken Okoli, thank you for your time. All right, until tomorrow, my name is Nonye Nwokoye. Bye for now.